Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Get Local podcast, where we bring to you all of these local hidden gems that are throughout the upstate and New York County. And as usual, we have an amazing guest here today, one that we've never had before. We've never had a musical guest. Today in the studio of 864 here in Greenville, South Carolina, we have Jackson Truluck.
Yeah.
Jackson, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I am so glad that you're here.
Of course.
So your mom reached out to me when she
Yes.
found out that we were featuring some local folks, and she asked me if we would bring on musical artists. And
Yeah.
we never have. So you are our first musical guest.
Well, I'm honored.
I am
honored.
excited for you to be here. So tell our listening audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So I am a singer-songwriter. I'm also an artist. So it kind of, you can throw around the definitions of what all those mean. But my goal is to create as much art, as much music as I can to send it out to as many people and let them enjoy it and try to create something everybody enjoys, but also something that it's kind of something that's fulfilling for me. So
Now you look like a country boy. So are you from from this area?
Yes. Well, not directly. So whenever my first EP that I put out was called Carolina, and that's kind of the reason that I named it after the title track Carolina is because I'm kind of from that entire state of South Carolina. I
Gotcha.
was born in Florence. I grew up in Georgetown and simultaneously Utahville, and had relatives in Charleston, and then moved to the upstate. And my dad then moved to the Columbia area. So I have literally lived all over the state of South Carolina. So
So you're a true South Carolinian.
of course, yes.
True South. Now you're from Anderson right now. Is that correct?
I do currently reside in Anderson. Yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you got started in music.
Well, music's kind of always been around me. It's always been, I went back through my memory whenever I kind of started deciding that I wanted to pursue this, and I realized that every moment and every memory of my life kind of had a song to it, almost like a soundtrack. And so I was very interested in making that soundtrack for other people
Oh,
as
that's
well.
fantastic. So,
Yeah.
so what type of music do you write?
Well, it's kind of a complicated question, I guess. So I started writing country, and I listened to a lot of country, but I was also raised around, everything from 60s all the way up to current. So I grew up listening to Sam Cooke and Ray Charles, but I also grew up listening to AC/DC and Van Halen and Foreigner and Journey. And I also fell in love with people like Paul Simon, Jim Croce, James Taylor, Bread, the list goes on and on. So
Wow.
I've kind of had this amalgamation of influences over my life and over my, and I guess now career, that have kind of shaped its own sound a little bit. So I guess calling it country wouldn't be fair to country artists, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I was listening to a country song the other day because I do like country. But
Yeah.
I was listening to country the other day, and they were rapping in it. And my husband was losing his mind because he said, "Who raps in a country song?" But country
you
is
know what-
really taking a change.
You know what?
Don't you think?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely. And some would say that's for the better, and some would say it's not. But I I guess I'll be vocal about it. If you mix country and rap, there's only about one word that'll come out of that. We'll just leave it at that.
One word, one word. So you have your own little unique twist on what you sing, your style of music.
Yes, that's my goal and my hope.
Okay.
So I kind of mix. Lately, it's been a lot more Southern rock influence.
Okay.
So Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner, and I try to always be a sponge when it comes to new influences as well. So some of my band members have put me on to some different things, like my guitar player. He's a big Tommy Casey. He's a big rock guy and big metal guy. So he's got me into some metal stuff and some rock stuff. But then also my bass player is a jazz guy. So he's and comes from that background. So he's gotten me into a lot of that stuff. And then my drummer played on Broadway for years. So he's a country guy. So we kind of have all different backgrounds, and we kind of
That's
feed off of each other in
fantastic.
different ways. So
That is fantastic. So you want to give a shout out to your band members?
yes, my drummer is Tom Edmonds. My bass player is Al Shaver, and my guitar player is Tommy Casey. Like I said,
That's amazing. Yeah, because we're only as good as our team, right?
that's exactly right.
We're
That
only
is
as good as
no,
our
those
team.
guys make sure I sound good. So
Now, a lot of our listening audience may say, a musician is not a business owner.
oh, that could not be further from the truth. Believe me, believe me.
Tell me a little bit about how is being in a band like owning a business?
Well, it's kind of, you have to develop a CEO mindset a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You have to manage, because even though my bandmates are almost like brothers, they're also still technically, legally speaking, my employees. So I
Yes.
have to keep that in mind. I have to, most people would hire, secretaries, or they would hire different things like that. Instead, it's managers or agents or booking agents, or,
Mm-hmm.
anything of the sort. So you have to learn how to delegate. You have to learn how to, you have to learn how to manage your money. You have to learn how
Yes.
to make sure that you're investing in the right places.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much, I was, I'm very thankful my dad raised me around a lot of business. So, he's owned several over the course of my life, even and before me. But, so he's always been able to instill that. But it was interesting to see, it was very interesting to me to see how different the music business is from regular business. There
Ah.
are a lot of correlations. At the end of the day, supply and demand is supply and demand,
Yes.
but it it was very interesting to me how much different those terms can be applied in
Mm.
music.
Now, what about advertising? Is advertising?
Oh
I
my
would think
goodness.
that would be
That
a
that would
very
probably
big
be the
different.
biggest part. Yeah,
Big-
that's probably the
So,
biggest.
talk to me a little bit about your advertising. How do you get the word
So
out about who
so
you are?
I actually just brought on a social media company to help out with my posts, and they'll be creating helping me create some content, and also posting that. So it's, like I said, trying to choose where you invest. It's a
Mm-hmm.
big part. And so what you try to do is, um it, coming from someone who was a little more, I was always the more reserved person, and
Mm-hmm.
especially in my younger days. I say young like I'm, some old person, but but I was always more reserved. So it was interesting for me to kind of say, okay, I want to kind of promote who I am, because people care about the music as much as they care about the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been an interesting journey trying to figure out, do I promote the music first? Do I promote me first? And
Mm-hmm.
kind of how to balance that, but still give people, something they want to hear.
Yeah, for sure. And I think all business owners struggle with that. You
Yeah,
have a pot of money and you have to use that pot of money, and where do you use it? And sometimes that may be different, whether you're in the music industry or you're in the restaurant
absolutely.
business or you're, out there promoting yourself on social media. So you're
Absolutely.
absolutely right. I think that's probably a struggle that all small businesses have.
Absolutely.
So that doesn't change regardless of what you do, right?
That's exactly right. That's
now,
exactly
now
right.
what about video? Is video important in the
It
music
is very
industry?
important. It is extremely important. I've been blessed enough that my bass player Al Shaver is also a professional photographer, and is also doing some video as well. So
Mm.
I I've been very blessed in some of the connections that I've been able to develop, but and some of the relationships that I've been able to develop as well.
Now, you mentioned a band. How long has your band been together?
So we have actually not that, it feels much longer than it actually is. So I actually started playing shows in general. I think my first full band show was in March of last year.
Okay.
But I have played gobs since, and I've had band turnover, but we finally settled into kind of who the guys are. So
Hmm.
I would say, I'm gonna say probably since about August, September. So really not long at all.
Not long at all. But now
But
I heard you say earlier you're traveling. So you're not just
yes,
performing in Anderson, you're
no,
traveling.
no, no, no.
So how are you booking all of these? And you said you had an agent?
Yeah, I have a manager.
You have a
So
manager.
and she's done tons for what I've got going on. So
Okay.
she's I've had shows in Chattanooga. I've had shows, and I've actually got a show next weekend in Columbia, Tennessee, so up near Nashville. I've played shows in Georgia, in North Carolina, South Carolina, so
Mm,
kind of all over. It's
kind of
been
all
fun.
over.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening to us today and they bring in local artists, is that something you'd be interested in doing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
and I have plenty of ways to. I know we'll discuss how to reach out later on, but
Yeah.
both my website and I think that my email or my manager's email is listed. I know my,
Okay.
my manager's Mandolin Entertainment. Be a great opportunity, and I'd love to connect with anybody.
So do you do festivals? Do you do,
I
you
have,
do?
and I will continue to. There's a festival that is being put together in Lawrence called Harmony Fest that I'll be playing this year.
Hmm.
And then there's a few more that we're looking to have lined up. Probably the biggest show that I will have played yet that I'm really excited about is Fort Jackson. this
Mm.
year for the 4th of July fest that they
Oh,
do.
wow.
So that's going to be an extremely, extremely exciting event that there's going to
Yeah.
be a lot of people turn out for. So
I'm sure. So now you said you were a songwriter. Tell me, what is the favorite song that you've written so far? What's your
that's
favorite
like
song?
picking a child. Um, oh goodness, I guess recency bias would be one that I recently wrote called "Leave Your Mark."
Oh,
So that's it's kind of a boot stomper, so to speak.
okay.
But
Well, tell me what it's about. What's the song
well,
about?
it's kind of about, kind of I, it's one of the first ones that I've written like this actually, but it's kind of a teenage coming of age, kind of being your own person kind of thing.
Mm.
So leave your mark.
Oh.
But also, people underestimated you. Maybe people thought that you should go this way and you went in your own way, but you're
Mm.
passionate about going in your own way. So
Um.
it's a good song. It's a great song. I'm
uh,
excited about it.
oh, so now is that posted somewhere
It
so
is
we can
not
hear?
currently. It is.
It
It
isn't.
will be very soon. It will be very soon.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
fantastic. So how many songs have you actually recorded that that we can listen
recorded
to? Mm-hmm.
about 7. So there's an EP of about 6 songs, and I'm actually having some difficulty with a couple of the distribution platforms, but one that I released back in what was that I didn't release it in September. Was that maybe it was December? I think it was back in early December. Or before that, who knows? But I can't keep track of dates. But I released that one, and I'm having some issues, so that one will be re-uploaded as soon as possible.
Okay.
But it's called Eastern Side of Fighting. So technically, there's 7 up, and then there's an acoustic version of one that I wrote called Sneakers and Boots, as well.
See, those sound like country songs.
So what's up currently is very, very country. And so that's been kind of an interesting thing for me. So I guess I can talk a little bit about artist journey. So people in the music business generally want you to um, confide into a certain genre. They want
Gotcha.
you to sit in, are you country? Are you rock? Are
Mm-hmm.
are you indie? Are you, what are you? And they try to like slap a label on, and I guess this is my 90s punk rock, trying to rip the
Mm.
labels off. And but it's what was currently up whenever I recorded all that stuff. I want to say back in 2019, and then I uploaded it, or we started in 2019, 2020, and then I uploaded all of that in 2021 up to streaming platforms, and I cannot tell you how much my sound has changed since that.
Mm.
So, and it's always an ever growing journey. People always talk about finding your sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think some people take that journey, a lot more seriously than others. And I'm trying to take it as seriously as I can. So there's a constant change,
Mm-hmm.
but what's up is currently definitely country. But if you come out to a live show, maybe you'll hear a little more rockified version of it.
Ah,
So
gotcha.
yeah.
So do you have groupies that tend to follow you around
Oh
town?
goodness. Yeah. Well, in smaller applications, yeah, yeah.
And
I
is,
wouldn't call them the traditional groupies, but yeah.
now, what about roadies? My son used to play in a band. So do you have like family members who are your roadies who go
I
with you?
not dedicated, but they certainly lend a hand. They certainly lend a
I
hand.
know when my son played, his father, myself, his sisters and brothers, it was like, and all of his friends, we were the ones that went and helped them get set up and
That's right.
transported everything, of course, when they when they were younger. So roadies are important people.
They are. They're very important.
You can't do it without them,
That's
right?
exactly right. That's exactly right.
So where's your next show? Where are you going to be at next?
My next show is actually tonight. I have a
Tonight.
show in Greenwood,
Oh,
at
okay.
TW Boone's, but I think that'll probably be before this podcast airs.
Yeah.
So, but if there's any shows that by the time this podcast comes out, there's a schedule that's on my website at jacksontruluckmusic.com that
That's fantastic.
everybody can check in and see where they can come see me at.
Well, I'm sure going into the business, it wasn't everything that you thought it was going to be,
No,
right?
no,
So
certainly
what
not.
would you say has been your biggest challenge that you've overcome?
Oh, my biggest challenge is probably what I discussed earlier, which
Mm,
is kind of how the business, traditional business aspects, how you transcribe that into music and how do you
mm-hmm.
apply it. Um, and not only how do you apply it, how do you apply it smartly?
Mm,
Um, and so that's probably been the biggest obstacle is kind of relearning everything that I already thought I had an understanding of.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that I think that if anybody's looking to get into this business, it's definitely something that I would do your research.
Do your research
I would
before
do
you
your
start.
research, which like with any business,
Yeah,
with
with
any
any
business.
business, for sure. And, one of the questions that I'd like to ask is, Jackson, it sounds like y'all had some trouble keeping the band together. So you had some obstacles along the way,
Of
right?
course,
I
yeah.
mean, was there a time where you felt like, I just need to quit? I'm done.
I don't think I'm far enough along in the journey to get to those points yet. I'm still very, very excited, but I
Hmm.
would be naive to say that those moments probably won't come.
Right.
But I am steadfast in the passion that I'm pursuing,
Yeah.
and it would be, I think even if I wanted to give up, I think it would pull me back in.
Yeah. So what would you tell somebody if we've got someone on here? I mean, you went into a whole totally different business than you thought.
Oh, absolutely.
You got in there and it wasn't what you
No,
thought,
not at all.
right?
Not at all.
But you're still there. So if we've got listeners who are saying, gosh, my business isn't doing well, I've been discouraged, I think I'm just going to quit, what would you say?
I would say that you are. I'm sure you've seen the. I'm gonna bring a meme in. So I'm sure you've seen the meme of the guy that's mining through
Hmm.
the bottom of through underground, and he gets right there, and behind the wall is just this amazing like patch of diamonds, and it's just he was gonna strike it big, and it was gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when you reach the point that you're at your lowest is when you decide whether or not you're going to reach your highest.
I love that, Jackson. I love that.
Yep.
Keep going.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
Absolutely.
Keep going. And when you remember that, advice to yourself. You keep
Absolutely.
that meme when
Absolutely.
you get to that point where you feel
Absolutely.
like, okay, it's time to
Absolutely.
quit, and you're going to be like, no, I'm going to remember that meme I gave on the Get
Absolutely.
Local podcast.
That's
Right?
exactly right. That's exactly right.
All right. So the most important thing about the podcast is telling everybody how they can follow you. So
Absolutely.
give all that
So
information today.
my name is Jackson Truluck. It's kind of a name that I always get comments about, but it's a True Luck without an E, so Truluck, and that name will pretty much find you everything. And then on Instagram specifically, it's Jackson Truluck Music, and my website is jacksontrulockmusic.com.
JacksonTruluckMusic.com. So for our listeners, you guys need to go check him out.
Yeah, of course.
You need to find out where he's playing locally.
Yeah.
And then
Y'all
if
come
you
out.
are looking for a local musician, I hope that you'll
Absolutely.
reach out to Jackson.
Absolutely.
And we'll put all of that information on how you can reach him there.
Mm.
So typically I like to end by asking you a kind of a funny question, something that makes you kind of think a little bit. So
Okay.
I'm gonna do one that's really simple for you, whereas it's a little difficult for everybody else. But if you could open up for any musical group or individual performer, who would you want to open up for? And why?
There's so many names that fly through my head. I'm gonna say only because he's been a big inspiration to me, Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton.
Chris Stapleton, and it would be even better if it could be a double billed show with Marcus King.
Tell me why.
Well, so Chris has been a big influence to me. I say it like I know him personally, but he's been a big, big influence in what I've got going on. I cover a good bit of his music, mainly because I kind of noticed whenever he bursts on to the scene as an artist, at least he's been songwriting for years, but um, he he kind of made everybody go, wait a minute, is this country? Is this what is this? And I
Mm-hmm.
kind of identified with that a little bit when I got into my career, and he took a bluesy sound, a soul sound, a sound that a lot of people hadn't heard in a long time, at least mainstream, and brought it in and kind of made it his own. And also just that voice, like you can't deny that voice. So if I really respect his songwriting ability and how he's written for other people, but also written for himself. That takes a lot of skill and a lot of heart, really, to be able to do that. So it's somebody that I've looked up to. So yeah, I think I would open for him.
You would open for him. So you've heard it here today. He would open for him. So give him a call. There you go. I think
Please.
about it and I do it. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, hey, I am so glad that you came in and talked to
Absolutely.
us today
Yeah.
as a local business owner, a musical artist from our own hometown here in the upstate. And I hope that our listeners will follow you, will
course,
listen to your
of course.
music, and come out and listen to you perform. So for all of our podcast listeners today. Thank you for joining the Get Local podcast, where we bring you all of these hidden gems. We are coming to you today from the 864 Sound in their studio here on Sweetbriar Road. And I just want to tell you, Brandon Higginbotham is the owner, and he is fantastic at
Phenomenal.
everything that he does. And I'm just going to read through his card. Original music, music production, sound design, voiceovers, podcasting, audio repair, mixing and mastering, live sound, and much more. Brandon is phenomenal. You guys need to use him for your sound engineer, whether it's video or audio. So please reach
Absolutely.
out to Brandon. And as always, we could not do what we do without our listeners. So thank you for listening. Please share this podcast. Let everybody know about this awesome local business in the upstate. And if you'd like to have your business featured, reach out to me at Get Local SC on Facebook, Instagram, and also getlocalconnect.com. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time. Bye bye.